Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Talent Talk. I do apologize for anybody who may have been trying to pop on and we were not here. We've been having a few technical difficulties, but I think we've got it all figured out. Um, so, on that note, I just wanted to say if you haven't done so already, please do go to the Talent Talk YouTube channel and subscribe today. As always, your support's appreciated. Um, Also, this season, at least, we're still working on getting previous seasons, but we have been putting this season's episodes onto podcast mediums such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, just to name a few. If you'd like to see a full description of where you can actually listen to these, check out the episode details on the YouTube description. And finally, this is a live and interactive show. So if you have any questions, comments as the show goes on, please don't hesitate to throw them into the comment section and we will try to address them as the show goes on. I did say finally, but there is one last thing I do want to say, and it goes out to a little friend of mine, a little hosting partner named Chingiz Javeri. Today is his birthday, and happy birthday, good sir. I do hope that today and the years to come do bring you good fortune and good health, and you will actually be hosting the next episode, so you can see him then. All right, on that note, today's guest is a Vancouver based actor, director, producer, and founder of Play by Play Entertainment. He has more than 20 years' experience in the industry and has appeared in such shows as Fringe, Supernatural, and The 100, just to name a few. His recent directorial debut, I might add, and acting adventure finds himself working alongside the film and TV tough guy Vinnie Jones in the feature film Bulletproof, released in Canada on August 19th of this year. I'm very excited to have him on the show, and I hope you are as well. So please join me in welcoming James C. Clayton.
Hey everyone, how are you? Hey Gary.
Hey, James, how's it going?
It's going really well. Sorry for the technical difficulties there.
Oh, it was on both ends, so yeah, no worries. I'm just glad we can finally get connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're in Vancouver right now, I take it?
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver right now. I snuck away from my family. I've got a 1-year-old son, and I'm outside enjoying the nice bright weather while it lasts because I am in rainy Vancouver, and it's just as
Yes.
lovely when it rains too. So it's why you can see like this bright sun kind of hitting my dome here.
That's okay though. I mean, at least you can still kind of do that. I'm still, I don't know, apprehensive about the whole fall/winter thing coming. So
Where are you located?
I'm in Calgary, so I'm not that
Oh,
far
you're in
away.
Calgary. Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful. Okay.
yeah, yeah, not too far at all.
Yeah.
Just a quick little jaunt. um, so before we actually really get going onto the whole Bulletproof film, I want to find out a bit more about you. 20 years experience in the industry, but where did it all start and why did it start?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it started, right from the womb, to be honest with you. I was the typical, young kid playing with my action figures and putting on plays and scenes and stuff like that. And, much to the chagrin of my friends, I was, getting them to rehearse lightsaber battles that I wanted to film. And luckily enough, we didn't put any to camera. That young gentleman, that viral video way back when that came out, that hit the internet and it really discouraged everybody. So, I lost my 15 minutes of fame, but I had, had the double-edged lightsaber going as well. So I think it was always in the works to be, storytelling, acting, and, putting on plays and writing stories. And, both sides of my family were very artistic. We sang a lot, drawing. I was actually in high school and my art teacher was really encouraging me to go get a fine arts degree. But I had already been bitten by the acting bug. So I kind of turned him down, and now I think about it, and I go, I should have stuck with it too. It would have benefited storyboarding and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's very true, right? But at the same time, especially when you're a bit younger, you're like, no, this is what I want to do. Forget it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You're kind of ignorant in all the right ways when you're young, and so you kind of want to give it the old college try, not knowing all the dangers and the booby traps. It's kind of like the Raiders of the Lost Ark scene right at the beginning, right? And you're like, if you would have known all the spikes were there and the pit that you got to jump over and the chasms, probably wouldn't have gone in, right? There's an earnestness to the whole thing.
There is, but it adds to the excitement as well, right?
It absolutely
The
does.
thrill of it,
Yeah.
the thrill of the journey.
Yeah, totally.
And are you from Vancouver, or were you from originally?
No, actually, I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba, but I've lived in Vancouver for 20 years now, and that's where I got into the industry, was actually in Winnipeg, because basically the film industry was starting to get a bit of a bump in the early 2000s, and so there was a couple casting directors, and they were doing shows, and two of the early projects that I did was K-19, The Widowmaker, with Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson, and that was like really the first time I was on set. And I got to see two of my heroes as children. It was absolutely fantastic. And then the other one was a TV show called 2030 CE. It was this sci-fi show that actually starred Tatiana Maslany, and my one and only scene was with Tatiana.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, it's kind of funny. And obviously now she's gone on and she's got this phenomenal career. And I ran into her probably about 2.5 years ago in Vancouver, and she barely remembered me because we were just kids, right? I think I was like 16 when I did 15 or 16 when we did that show. She's younger than me, so
Okay.
but that was where the kick happened. And then I had family actually move out to Vancouver, and so I followed them, and then more family followed me, and then I started producing movies here.
Okay. And when you say you started producing movies, like most of us, I've done a few myself. Probably started off with some short films, things like that, and worked your way up, or did you go straight into right into the feature films and?
Oh yeah, I kind of dove into the deep end right away. I wrote a short film which a friend of mine produced probably almost 20 years ago. That was the only time I did a short film, and then I just jumped in. The first feature I produced was called Down the Line, and self-financed. A friend of mine wrote and directed it. I acted in it actually. I played 12 different characters in it.
Oh wow.
It was actually a really cool film. It was kind of like a Being John Malkovich, where this comedian gets trapped inside his mind. And so he meets different versions of himself every day because a new day gets kind of downloaded and he's in these prison cells. Very quirky film that actually ultimately never got released. And I hope it does one day. But that led me to, I got the bug to produce. And subsequently, I went on and I did CANDiLAND, which was based on the novel CANDiLAND, and then Residue, and then Amy, and then I produced a few more films, and then that led me to Bulletproof.
Okay. And it's funny you touched on Residue, because I wanted to touch on that a little bit as well. Um, I found let's see if I can find it here. I just had it up here. Where did it go? There we go. So for the podcasters, I'm just throwing up a poster from the
I love that poster.
the film Residue, and yeah, I was noticing that it won some awards. It did quite well for an independent film, and I also noticed on IMDb, of course, in this movie you played sorry, what was the name? Luke Harding, I believe.
Luke Harding, yeah, the great detective.
Yes, and so I noticed on IMDb that there's another film called Villain, I believe, where you also play Luke Harding. So I was kind of curious if there is a tie-in, or is it a sequel, or just?
Yeah, there is. It's a great question. Well, the Residue is, I'm really proud of this film, actually. It's a very Lovecraftian. So anyone who is interested in that stuff, I really do encourage them to check out the film. It's on Tubi right now, and Rusty Nixon is the writer director. He's a tremendous talent, and Villain is kind of the code name for the sequel that I hope comes to fruition. It would be amazing to kind of play in that arena again, because it's a delicious world that he created. It's very gruesome and very violent. If you watch it, I don't know if you've seen it, Gary, but there's a couple things that are a little squeamish. I don't know if I'd have the guts to make a film, um, as a director, anyways, with that kind of stuff. But great special effects, and yeah, the ball's in Rusty's court. Not to be long-winded, but I hope we get to make that in the next 3-4 years.
Okay, yeah, and you were saying that. So I'm taking it that horror is not really your genre, then, like,
No,
is.
no, horror is my genre, but it's as I've gotten older, I find that I'm starting to get a little more squeamish on it. You
Okay.
know, that's why that was really kind of the inspiration to do Bulletproof actually, and start curating that project is because, you know, my wife was pregnant with our first son. And typically I was doing a lot of dark films, and I love dark films, and I love horror and thrillers and all of that. But I really wanted to do something that, you know, potentially a younger audience could watch, or it's just more accessible. And so Bulletproof is like a 90s style action movie. Now, in the end, it still ended up getting rated R because, you know, much to my surprise, because Taken is PG-13. But it's probably almost just as violent, or it's actually, I find it less violent than Taken. But yeah, I had set out to make something that a little bit of a younger audience could watch.
That's interesting that it's R-rated. I thought they were getting more and more lenient with the ratings. So that's
Well,
kind
you
of
know,
sad.
in hindsight, I don't want to give the ending away, but there's one shot that I went, that's probably what did it.
Okay, yeah, fair
And, you
enough.
know, we were so close to release, I didn't want to try and argue it because, you know, the show had to go on.
Right. Well, and anytime an RA is kind of attached to it, it does also intrigue a lot of people to kind of go, oh, why is that? Let's go check it out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, the film definitely, it's hard hitting action. But while we were making it, I was actually being very mindful about the blood. I was mindful about swearing. I was mindful about certain things because I was actually thinking about the rating. So it's kind of funny that in the end, it gets this hard R. And I think some people go into the movie thinking that it's going to be a little bit more edgy than it is, but it's got a little bit more of it's more popcorn. You know, it's got a little bit more of the sensibility of like a Spielberg action film from like
Okay.
the 80s.
All right. Well, and I love those. I'm just
Yeah, me too.
if you want something that's just for entertainment value, those are great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And oh my goodness, I just lost my track of my dang
It's
it.
because I'm rambling.
No, I had a question to follow up with, and it just totally left my head. Um, oh, there we go. Old time brain, I guess.
Nah,
And so this is your directorial debut for this
it
film,
is.
and I'm just kind of curious how that all came about. Were you approached to direct, or was it something you strove to try and do, or how did that all kind of come about?
It's actually something I strove to do. I was being asked by people, you know, or like gently nudged to go, you know, you should direct. You'd probably be a really good director. Just from, you know, all the years of being associated with all the different hats in filmmaking. So I consciously set out to curate a project that I could direct. And I've got a lot of experience. Fortunately, I've got a lot of experience in sales and distribution in film. So I had an indication of where to hedge my bets and what to make that could actually go to market very well. So in 2019, I actually I hired a couple of writers, Danny Mack and Cooper Bebo, who are the writers on the film, and we started actually developing the project. And then from there, I financed and packaged the film, produced it with my wonderful producing partners, Mark Peaty and Johnny Broy, Zach Steele, Ryan Ennis, and Paul Lingstrom, Peter Stathis. I was so fortunate with the team that I was able to put together. And then we got Vinnie Jones on board, which was an experience in and of itself. And then we shot the film, and to be honest with you, shooting the film was actually the easiest part of the whole experience.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It really was, yeah. I was fortunate to. Oh, we got a siren. You know, on the topic of Rusty, anytime I ever give him a call, he always tells me he thinks I'm in a Die Hard movie because sirens follow me. So it's kind of, you know, it's fitting that I would be in an action movie, you know, finally. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but yeah, the shooting was very, very, very easy because uh, I had the luxury of a long prep phase. So we actually had the entire edit prepped and ready to go. And of course, when we were on set, if things came up, if we had to make adjustments, we were prepared enough to make those adjustments, and we did. But when we sat down to the editing, everything cut together like butter. It was the first time in my experience, because usually you have no time to do anything. It's just so run and gun.
Yeah, yeah. And so how many days of filming, actual filming, were there?
Roughly about a 20-day shoot, which for the size of this film, I'm not sure if you've seen the film or not, but anyone who watches the movie, I think they're going to be aghast at that. Because typically it would have been about a 25 to 30-day shoot to do everything we did. But we were so well oiled.
Well, I mean, that definitely helps, right? And so who did the storyboard?
Well, I had a couple storyboard artists, and Gary Ferguson did some of the storyboards, and Morgan Delaney, two very talented guys. And then we did a lot of shot lists, where we shot listed the whole entire film, my editor and I. And then I did do some storyboarding myself, but stick figure stuff. Because,
Sure.
I haven't kept up with my artistry, so it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. You see these real talented directors, no question, like Ridley Scott or James Cameron, and they're going in and they're like fully realizing their films. There's no competition, right? It's like these guys are the best in the world for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did upload the trailer for it. I don't know if you're okay with me showing it or not.
No, I don't want anyone to see this movie.
That's kind of what I thought, so I thought I'd ask the question. So,
it'd be wonderful to watch a trailer. I haven't seen it in a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. Chances are, though, I'm just letting folks know that might be watching this, that chances are it's probably going to get copyrighted on YouTube and not be able to watch it later. But so if you're watching live, it's a great time to watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll just get right into it, and then maybe we can chat about it a little bit after. So here we go.
Yeah, this ain't no ordinary everyday getaway.
Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be getting on an airplane and flying far, far away from here. My retirement.
Yeah.
Who are you?
And we need to go before my husband catches up.
Temple's your husband.
Yeah.
Isn't the guy that I just ripped off.
Get out of my way!
You gotta found me. Sorry for that loss.
Yes. Once Temple finds out I was trying to leave, he will kill me.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Where's the Frenchman? Taking care of that thing?
You do what you do.
This ain't no ordinary everyday getaway. Get out my way!
What's got into you, sweetheart?
I'd rather die than go back with you.
We're gonna have this baby. We're gonna be a family. See, I told you you're no good with guns.
I'm not good with guns, but I bet he is.
Let's have some fun! Get her back!
This ain't no ordinary.
Don't stop.
Everyday getaway. Loading up my shot. Yo.
Life on the run isn't much of a real life.
You're only risking your life for money.
Yeah, you're right.
You're gonna die a slow death for this stranger.
Loading up. Loading my shots. This ain't no ordinary.
You'll never stop.
Everyday getaway.
We belong.
Not today.
You are gonna see me again.
Loading my shots.
You wanna die like a rat?
Yo, get out of my
You're
way.
nothing.
Get out of my way. Get out of my way.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, officers.
What happened to your arm?
Definitely some high octane going on there.
Well, Lionsgate got a great trailer.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. Like, it definitely gets your blood going, and you're like, oh man.
Well, what I can say is, you hear a lot of complaints about people, going, well, the trailer has got all the action and everything in it. And I can confidently say there's a lot that they did not put in to the trailer. The movie really is nonstop action, just like the trailer portrays. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. I get a lot of really kind messages from people who have been really enjoying the movie.
For sure. And so when you say that, you basically had 20 days of filming, and just looking at the trailer, tons of explosions, gunfire, you got it all, right? I'm actually, like, I can understand why people might kind of go, wow, surprised it didn't take you longer, just because of everything that was involved. Because I mean, a lot of the stuff that people don't think about is the permits you got to get and everything else to kind of do those kind of things, right? So obviously, like, everything must have just gone smoothly for you guys.
Everything did. And, we were shooting multiple cameras, but also like going back to the team, I had the luxury of having some of the top people, probably in North America working on the movie. I was pinching myself, to be honest with you. Like Ryan Ennis, who was my producer, one of the main producers, producing partner. He's probably one of the top stunt drivers in the world. I've seen this guy do the most unbelievable things, and he's worked on films like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and RoboCop and Ghostbusters and all of that. It was such a lucky circumstance to be able to work with people who understood the stunt side like that, and because of their experience, we were able to do it. I think in any other circumstance, we probably wouldn't have been able to make it happen. I mean, I was even fortunate and blessed enough. A couple days we had an operator, and he's more than an operator; he's a filmmaker as well. Chris Wiseman, and he shot stuff on Game of Shadows with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law and Guy Ritchie, and like RoboCop, some of the action scenes. He's the guy who's doing those shots with the cameras and everything. So I got to work with those people. It was an amazing experience.
And how did the team kind of get put together? I mean, obviously with 20 years experience, you must have built up quite a network of people as well. But yeah, like I'm just kind of curious how this all came to gel.
Yeah, I mean, a good portion of the team came from over the years of working together. Like Mark Peaty and Zach Steele, they've been great collaborators of mine from the beginning. And then Thomas Potter, who's another producer I haven't mentioned yet. He was the fight coordinator on the film, but he actually knew Ryan Ennis because, I gave him the script and I said, look, I don't know how to make this script yet because I haven't done car stunts before. And and he said, okay, well, you've got to meet Ryan Ennis and these guys at Peacemaker and collaborate with them because I think they're the ones that are going to be able to make this happen in the way that, you're visualizing it on the page. And he couldn't have been more right. They were really the missing piece. And so they were the new addition to the team that we were working together. And we just started, we worked so well together that it was a no-brainer. Even while we were shooting, we were like, we got to do a sequel. Like, we've got to make more movies. It's got to happen.
So is the sequel in the works or just thoughts?
No, absolutely. There's a sequel in the works. Absolutely. I kind of took that deep breath because I'm like, what can I not say about it? I don't really want to give too much away, but I'm going to be going off to work on the sequel after we're done our interview here. So,
oh, awesome.
Yeah, my hopes is that we go to camera in the spring next year.
Oh, wow. That's soon. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'd like the film to come out in 2024.
Okay. All right. You know what? I just realized I kind of failed a little bit here in my interview because I actually meant to, of course, for my show, Talent Talk, my kind of standard is to have the brick wall behind us. But I actually meant to throw this up during our chat to kind of house our
cool.
background.
Vinnie Jones.
Yes, and that's why I was asking if you had a kind of a larger poster, I guess you could say, or a different.
I could have sent you the title behind me as well too.
I saw that behind you. I was like, oh, that would work too, actually. But I think this works for now. I like the bullet holes there and everything else. It works well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you come about to get Vinnie Jones onto the project?
Well, Vinnie Jones was attached by a friend of mine named Matthew Robert Kelly, who's a great producer in his own right, and basically he facilitated bringing Vinnie on board. I mean, the first time I met Vinnie was actually over a phone, and he was golfing. And he was very, very nice to me, which probably a lot of people would go, that doesn't make any sense, right? Because he's the quintessential tough guy. But like, all jokes aside, extremely professional and pound for pound, probably one of the best actors I've ever worked with. And a lot of people probably don't think of him as an actor. They think of him more as a personality, but he's a very, very good actor. I would have to say, and it was kind of a running joke, back at Video Village, is that every take I could have printed. So we were not doing more than 2-3 takes, but really only because we need to just have some variety just for the hell of it. He's really great. He's kind of like Charles Bronson of our era.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I always found that funny, of course, course, people see him on TV or film, and like you said, they think tough guy, and he's probably that way in real life or something. But from what I've seen and read, like, yeah, the guy is like super nice, and wasn't he a soccer player prior? Like,
Oh my God, yeah, that's what he was famous for. He was.
Yeah.
He's known as one of the toughest enforcer soccer players, or football players, I should say, in history. That's what he was known for. And then Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which was written and directed by Guy Ritchie, was his big kind of like foray introduction into film. And it was such an amazing performance, and the film was so potent and well received that's how his film career got started.
Right. Okay. And like, obviously, he's a big part of the film. But was he? How many days would you say he was on set out of that 20?
Oh, limited amount. Limited. I think we had him for, it was like 5 or 6 days we had him for. Because his schedule is so busy. Yeah, I think it was 5 days. It was 5 days we had him. And so the way that we kind of, worked around that, because we had so many intricate setups and everything, is that we favored all of his coverage in the shot list, and then we would go back to the locations and then shoot the reverses and stuff like that. So when you watch the movie, you would never really know that he wasn't there all the time, but it was very carefully planned. Very carefully planned. Yeah.
And that's usually the case with when you get folks of his stature on films like this, right? It's usually limited, and the way it's done, like the editing, obviously is huge for that. And even though I'm in the industry, I'm not obviously at your level, but I'm in the industry, and it's always fun to watch that process of how everything's getting done and everything else. My whole thing was like when I was back in. I guess I was 2011-ish. No, 14. Sorry, 2014. I was like on Heartland, doing some background.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
Just background, but at the same time, like just standing there and watching them do the setups and the reverse shots, and for me that was it. That was after that I was all hooked, and I was like, I gotta do more of this. And so it's always fascinating me to kind of hear your side of it in the backstories of.
Well, it's such a process, I completely agree with you, and I can relate. I mean, you fall in love with the magic of cinema, and that layering of things. You do a take on one side, you do a take on another, and then you got your master. That process that you're working through, it starts right from the development of the script and the passes and the writing, and then the financing. And I find that's kind of the cool thing about film. Also, the thing that people hate about film is you're going over and you're ironing out things, and you're layering and that. But I really like it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And you said you kind of have background in the marketing side of it, I suppose, or so that
well, not as a marketer per se, but just being involved in distribution companies and seeing how they put films together, and how buyers for films respond to certain films, knowing their audience base that they're going to be presenting the film to in different countries.
Right. Which I'm assuming must help, because I know for myself, like I always struggle, and I know a lot of my colleagues also struggle with the whole finance side of it and the distribution side of it, right? That always seems to be a bit of a stumbling block in order to get the project going, right?
Absolutely. And it never stops, by the way. Like, you get a few over the finish line, and the thing is like every film it's different. The financing model is somewhat the same, but you never know how you get it over the finish line. It's kind of crazy.
It is, yeah, right. Sometimes you my hair's already starting to thin, and that's part of the reason I'm just constantly
mine
pulling
too.
the hair. And just out of curiosity, like, do you have formal training of any sort in film, or?
Not in directing and not in producing. I learned all of that by making a lot of expensive mistakes, and just by doing, because I've been behind the camera on film sets since I was 15 or 16, and so it's been like 25 years now of just doing things practically. But I've got formal training as an actor. I did a lot of extensive training over the years, and something in called Meisner technique, if anyone's familiar with acting technique, Meisner. So a lot of that, and Stanislavski and all of it. But kind of just fumbling my way through it, my friend.
Yes, as we all tend to do, I suppose.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, like I know, going back to Tatiana Maslany a little bit there, like I know, I think, or I believe she was part of the ProLabs program. Are you familiar with that? Is that something you also delved into at all?
No,
Or
no, not at all.
okay,
Yeah. Would you say the prolapse? The
ProLabs, yeah, like yeah,
Pro Labs. Is that like a
yeah.
telefilm program or is it?
No, it's an actual acting um, style of schooling, I suppose, if you will, for
Oh,
acting.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that, and I'm not familiar with what kind of training she's done either. Although whatever she's done, I mean, she's
it's
one of the
it's
best in the
working.
world, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you were talking about your other character that did, you were 12 different characters. It just reminded me of Orphan Black and what she did there as well,
Yeah.
which was amazing. Um, but
Yeah. Absolutely, it was what she did.
yeah, no, it's an interesting industry for sure. Um, so just out of curiosity, like right now, it's been released well, it was released back in August in some theaters. I believe it's available on Apple TV. Is it?
Yeah, it's actually available digitally everywhere. So yeah, on
It
August
is.
19th,
Okay.
it came out in select theaters, but also like on demand, Apple TV. But like anyone in Canada, it's like TELUS, any of your internet providers, cable providers, same in the United States. I believe it's on Vudu, Redbox, Fandango, but I think Vudu's Fandango as well, Amazon. And then I do believe it is going to be streaming at some point later this year, and then Blu-ray and DVD on September 27th as well.
Okay. All right. It's always yeah. It's another one of those dying mediums. It seems like everything's streaming now, right? You don't see a lot of the hard copies anymore, so it's always kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. You know, I think it's well. I mean, it's Lionsgate. I mean, they're one of the most successful studios, and they'll. I can't presume to talk about their their business model or anything, but I'm sure they know exactly where and how to hit all of those markets in order to make the film successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. You're not in this business for that length of time, not knowing. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and the film's been released overseas in almost all international territories, and either digitally or DVD, theatrically as well. So, I think the market's it's very healthy in different areas still,
yeah.
or different
Absolutely.
territories, I should say.
Absolutely. So aside from the sequel to Bulletproof, now that you've kind of had that taste of the directing side of things, is something you want to do more of, or um,
Absolutely. It's all going to come down to the project, and if the timing's correct. I mean, the first thing on my plate is the sequel to Bulletproof. I do have a number of other projects in development, and I have had a couple projects come my way to consider. But it just, you kind of have to have, and you could probably relate to this, as a filmmaker as well. I think, especially as a director, you kind of have to have a bit of a madness for the material. Because if you're going to do it right and spend, 2 to 3 years of your time on it, you really want to know that you can get obsessive about it and honor the material the best way you can. Whether in the end you're successful or not, but you do kind of want to go in knowing that. So I'm kind of feeling to see what I can obsess over.
yeah, no, that's fair. And now that you've had quite a bit of experience, especially on the producing side, behind the camera, do you have a preference in front, behind?
It's hard for me to answer that. I've been asked that a couple of times now, and I thoroughly enjoy all of it. And it all occurs the same way to me. So, like, if I'm just producing a film, I don't feel like I'm losing out on the acting. But if I'm acting and producing, I'm having a lot of fun and directing. They're all so similar. And I know it's a funny thing to say, but yeah, I don't have a preference. Long story
Okay.
short.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fair. And do you find, like, for example, I've worn multiple hats as well. Do you find sometimes you have troubles compartmentalizing? Like, do you find, let's say, you're so focused on the producing side of it that you feel like maybe your acting lacks a little bit, or anything like that, or vice versa?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be challenging moments, but I think if you've got the right team around you and you've prepared enough, um, it's not that much of a problem. Like on Bulletproof, it was very easy switching back and forth. But I can say that if I didn't have the team around me that I did, I probably wouldn't have had the luxury to do that. I probably would have had to kind of use more brain power, because the thing is, like, going to camera, I already conveyed to the team all the shots and everything that needed to happen. So then I was able to just strictly work with the actors on set and not have to explain, okay, this is what we're doing. We knew the setups. We're like, okay, we're doing this setup next. Everyone was on the program, right? So we were well tuned. And then in terms of the acting, having been in the creating the material, I already kind of I knew the character. So I didn't have to think about, oh, now I got to get into this mindset. It was just something that I could just jump into right away.
Yeah, it definitely helps if you're part of that process.
Yeah, like if I had been hired to do like a full-on character that's completely outside of myself, then I would probably think very hard about whether or not I should be directing as well. I would probably just want to focus on the performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, looking back on it, what's your most, shall we say, fun moment of filming? Like, did you have a certain moment on set where you were like, oh man, I'm not forgetting this. This is amazing.
Well, every single day on set, in all honesty, but I would probably say the parking lot shootout, which is featured in the trailer with Vinnie Jones and everybody. That's one of the days. And then also the 3 days that we shot the opening of the movie. And I don't want to give it away, but the movie's got a James Bond style opening. And that's, with the sequel, it's kind of the style of the movies. It's got that flavor to it. When you watch it, anyone will know why it was so much fun. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And action films are a different bag, if you will, right? Because I haven't done a lot when it comes to, especially this kind of action. Like, this is definitely high octane, high level, high energy. But I kind of get typecast as well, kind of like Vinny, in that I usually get the bad guy roles, which are always fun.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. But you kind of have that elevated or heightened elevated sense. Anyway, verbal diarrhea there. And I find that there's such a contrast between action and, say, just a straight drama, where you've got, say, high emotional levels in terms of emotion, whereas action, of course, is action. Now, I know you, for example, you've kind of had a bit of variety of roles and everything else. And interestingly enough, I was reading some comments on your movie on IMDb, and one of the comments I read about Vinny is like, "Oh my God, he's been typecast again." At the same time, typecast is cast. So I'm sure he has no issue with that whatsoever. But I'm wondering if you yourself have had kind of, again, you seem to be a bit of a character actor where you'll be able to span a few different roles. Do you feel you've ever been kind of pegged down as a typecast role?
No, I haven't been pegged down. I kind of wish that I probably was an actor that was more inside a box, to be honest with you, because, I feel like because I don't work as often as people perceive that I do. I spend a lot of time developing projects and working on them. And I think if I had more of kind of like a specific archetype or kind of look to my face, I'd probably be working more, which would be great since I have a kid, right? But then there's the other side of it where you have the luxury to actually really tickle your artistic instrument. So, yeah, I would say no. I don't feel like I've been typecast, although I guess people do say that I play a good doctor sometimes, and maybe it's just because my cadence. But to go back to Vinny and his typecasting, I would actually say that I think in Bulletproof, he actually got out of it a little bit, because there's a couple really tender scenes in that movie that I was hoping to kind of, convey to audiences the levels that he's capable of. I actually think he'd be really good in a comedy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because as you were talking, I don't know if you've ever watched the show Chuck with
Yeah,
Zach Levy. Yeah, and he was in a
absolutely.
couple episodes on there, or at least one episode that I recall. Anyway, he was in one of those as well.
Oh no way.
And yeah, it was subtle comedy, but he was still pretty good in it. Like he just had a couple really good one-line zingers and stuff like that. So I could totally see it for sure. He was still playing the tough guy, but with a little bit of a comedic touch to it as well. So it was pretty good. Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? People they see this one guy in this certain character, and then that's what people get stuck with. Which again, from a work perspective, that's fine.
Yeah, it can
But
be a blessing and a curse. I guess it just depends on your aspirations, and I guess your perspective on your work, I guess.
for sure, right? Like I'm sure there's times where he probably would prefer to move outside the box a little bit and take on that more sensitive role, if you will.
Well, I mean, I
that
didn't want to
comedic role.
announce it now, but like I'm developing Dirty Dancing 3, and Vinny's going to be the Patrick Swayze role.
That would
And
be
it's
amazing,
happening, right? So, like, Vinny, if you're out there, start stretching. And we
right?
can make it happen.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah.
I think actually it would. I literally just shot into my mind and thought I would say it. But I want to see Vinnie Jones dance now.
Totally, absolutely. He'd be like the. I mean, I know Christopher Walken's got a history of dance, but it would be great because I'm always entertained when he starts to break out into dance. So I could totally see Vinny doing something similar. Would be quite entertaining to do. No, that's amazing. You know what? We're kind of reaching up to the 2-minute mark here, or two
No worries.
2 o'clock mark. Sorry, and usually I try to keep it within that 60 minutes. I know we started a bit late today as well, but I do have a couple other kind of quick questions, hopefully more fun questions to ask you, and then maybe we can wrap up if that works for you. Now, you kind of mentioned, especially when you got the opportunity to work with Harrison Ford, that you got to work with a bit of a childhood idol kind of deal. Would you say that's like out of the people you've worked with so far, would you say that's kind of your most memorable person you've worked with at this point? Or is there somebody else that you would kind of put into that category as well?
Yeah, I would say him for sure. I mean, I didn't like directly work with him. I mean, I was on set with him. So I would never want people to think like I got a chance to spar toe to toe, because then I would have like screamed at the camera here, like, yes, resoundingly. But I would probably say Harrison Ford. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why he's like a legend and an icon. And some people just have like a magic about them. And I'm not even just saying that just because, I've got to, and we're on the air and everything's on the internet forever now. But the truth of the matter is like when you see him, you're just like, oof, he's a movie star.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I spent some time watching some interviews with him and Ryan Gosling when they did the remake of Blade Runner there, and I gotta say it's quite funny to watch him in interviews. I get a kick out of it.
Well, he's had such a tremendous career, right? And he gets now to have like all this fun, and I can imagine he's having fun sitting next to Ryan Gosling, who's probably one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and he's a pretty cool guy too. It's like life's pretty good.
Right? And like you said though, like he's kind of reached that point in his career where it's more or less just fun for him now at this point, right? It's not a day job or anything like that. It's just like, all right, I'll do it because I want to have some fun with it, right?
Hopefully we all get there one day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just working on doing some consistent work at this point. So get there first, and then I'll think about the rest.
Oh man, it'll happen. I believe it.
And so so that's kind of who you've worked with so far. Is there anybody else that you really want to strive to try and work with at this point? Now, it doesn't have to be another actor. It could be director or whoever at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really love to work with Owen Wilson. I've I've always wanted to
Okay.
work with Owen Wilson. He's on my list. Anthony Hopkins is on my list as an actor in any capacity. And in terms of director, I'd love to work with any of the greats, really. I'd love to work with, Wes Anderson or, Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese. I mean, those are all wish lists. See, the thing is that they would have to want to work with me. Right? There's a certain, but man, I'd even love to work with Michael Bay. Michael Bay would be great to work with. I know he's, a lot of people say he's got a reputation for being really intense. I like that. I wouldn't care. Just scream at me all day. Who cares? Let's do this. I'm in.
Well, whatever he's doing, it's successful, right? He's making it work. So,
he's a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I respond to all kinds of different atmospheres. Like I can have the tough love atmosphere. I can have the let's all talk nice and quietly, and we're going to do our work. I'm just in to have some fun.
Fair enough. And actually, that brings up another question. Going back to your directing, actually, what would you say is your style of directing? Now, because of course you've got the acting background as well, right? So you kind of have that perspective on what you want to see and how you see it. So I'm just kind of curious what your approach would be.
I'm the quiet one. So, and not say quiet, I'm very vocal in what's needed. But I try to have a light touch and just be as simple as possible with what I'm asking. I think, the casting is where the directing really starts. So if you cast it well with people that their natural kind of attributes fill the role, then when you get on set, you should be able to just kind of steer them and let them do the forward motion on the performance. That being said, I'm talking all highfalutin and everything. Like Bulletproof's an action film. Like I haven't really directed There Will Be Blood or anything like that, but I have a good respect for actors, and I like to ask the actors how they want to work prior to going to camera, because I have had experience in different denominations of acting, I guess you could say. So I'm comfortable to work in any capacity.
Okay. And it's always a tough one. This is kind of a tough question, I think, in terms of, some of your colleagues that you have been directing now. Do you ever get feedback from them on how they felt everything went? Or
director? Yeah, I've gotten some feedback. I've gotten constructive feedback, and I've gotten compliments as well. I mean, for the most part, everyone's said they've really enjoyed working with me, and I hope they're telling the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I know, that's why I say it's kind of a tough question, right? Because yeah, like you said, it's especially on live TV now or whatever, live streaming. If other people are doing the same thing, other interviews, we got to be nice, right?
Well, I will say this. You have to listen. You're always listening. A lot of people may have the misconception that directing is you do this and you do that and you do that. Certainly, it's your vision, and you're curating the vision, but you have to listen to everybody on set, and it even comes down to a props person. You have to listen to them because they may have an idea. I mean, I got an adjustment from a grip when we're on Bulletproof. They were setting up the camera for a special effects shot, and the grip was like, hey, your setup would probably look better if the camera was a bit lower. There's probably some directors who would have been like, that guy's gone, right? But I looked at him, he walked away, and I looked at the cinematographer, and I said, lower the camera, let's see if he's right. I looked in the viewfinder, I went, oh, that son of a bitch is correct. Looks like that's the new shot.
Right?
There's so much going on. You can't possibly have all the answers. That's why film is collaborative, right? It's
yes.
It's like a medley of art.
Yeah, absolutely.
My name's on it. If the film's a success, the director takes all the credit, and if the film's a failure, the director takes all the backlash.
Right.
you know, and it's because he's steering, or he or she's steering the ship, or the person steering the ship. But really, it should be the culmination of, or the trumpeting of everyone's voice, really, you know, if you've done it right.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Like you said, collaborative is a key word there, right?
I'm talking too much. Someone's going to edit this video. I'm going to get into trouble over something now.
I think you're good. I don't think you said anything.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I think you're good to go. And actually, I will kind of wrap it up. What I will do is I'm
No
just going to
worries.
post this on here. You know what? I'm going to have to put the other background on so we can see that a bit better. There we go. So if you guys want to check out more about James Clayton, here's his kind of social media stuff. Go check it out. Check out Bulletproof, which is, watch the show if you missed it earlier. It's available everywhere. Check it out.
Yes.
And the one last question I'm going to ask is the one thing I noticed on IMDb is I saw some of your projects. You went by the name of Clayton Champagne. Or at least that's how it's dictated on IMDb. So I want to kind of see what the deal was there, or if there was a deal on that name.
You're outing me, man. Like, I want to have this is how I have my peaceful, obscure life where nobody's in my business, you know? No, all jokes aside, that's like my legal name. That's my real name.
Okay. All right.
But I've been known as James C. Clayton for, like many years now. So, but yeah, that's my covert name. It's my everyday life. Yeah.
See, that's the perfect answer right there. Yes,
Yeah.
that's my covert. That's my alias.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. So, thank you so much, James, for taking the time to sit down and chat with me today.
It's my pleasure.
And again, everybody, check it out. Social media there, and then check out the film. And yeah, best of luck to you, and looking forward to Bulletproof 2.
Thank you very much. I look forward to sharing it when it's done.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.